Hello, explorers, and welcome to this week's episode. We've got another special guest joining us. Stay tuned for more. Hello, explorers, and welcome to this week's episode. Joining me, as always, is the high-stakes gambler himself, just like Lando Calrissian at Cantino Blight. It's Jimmy.
Howdy.
How's your week been then, Jimmy?
Better than yours.
For sure.
I can't complain, man. Summer break. We just started cross country practice up.
Yeah.
And so, getting into the role of things, and got back from vacations, and just
Nice.
good. It's been good. So how about you, man? So what have you been up to?
Oh wow! So obviously chucking myself about the football field as always. Put my life and the body on the line, and I was going to say I walked away, but I didn't. I was stretching away. I was stretching away yesterday with a dislocated knee for my endeavours. But no, apart from that, it'd actually been a good week. I'd done some American football trials as well the week before at Army Camp down south, which I got selected for, so I was absolutely buzzing. And then, I had an amateur game yesterday for my civilian team, and dislocated my knee. After finally understanding the concepts of football and actually what I'm doing, confidence was there. Early in the second half, snap. So, high as a kite yesterday, but no, apart from that, we're in good spirits. Cool. Okay, so let's go over a few of our Force encounters this week then. Cool, I'll start us off. So, Force encounters wise this week, I've been playing the new Star Wars game, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the news. But the other big Star Wars thing that I've been doing, it's really pulled me in, is the Darth Plagueis book. One of the explorers on the Facebook page recommended it to me after I said I'd finished the last book I was listening to, which is just escaped my mind off the top of my head. That was it, The Living Force. And this Darth Plagueis book, I'm really enjoying it. Like, there's so much depth to a Sith and how they operate, and just getting around. It's a very interesting book. I'll leave it at that. I'm not quite halfway, but I'm quite far in. Super enjoying that. So can't remember who it was in the Explorers recommended it to me, but thank you. Keep them coming. I'll keep listening to them. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I've had a lot of little things. Finished The Living Force.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. I enjoyed that story. It's kind of a weird. We'll have a book review of it coming up, but it was kind of It was a fun story, and then getting to meet the author was pretty cool. And it's always fun when you get to meet authors of books that you like. But then, just the other day, so my neighbor, his brother is a big Star Wars guy, and we had this news article that was written about the podcast and stuff here in my local paper, and they actually came over because they were all at their house, and they came over to meet me. So Brad, Scott, and Mike. Stu Saltz. I know I'm butchering the last name. I always do, but they got to come over. We got to chat a little bit about Star Wars. I brought them downstairs to the Star Wars cave. Got to show them my collection, which was always fun to talk about. And then later that very same day, we went. Myself and Eric, who's been on our show before. We have tickets for the Lord of the Rings extended versions in the theater, which is phenomenal. Nice. But it's a long time to be sitting on your keister. And then tonight we've got the big 4 hours and 20 minutes or whatever nonsense it is for the Return of the King. But I'd meet those guys. I've never met them before in my life. They're kind of I know Brad's kind of quiet on our socials and things like that. Just kind of listens, which is awesome. And we appreciate the support. But then all three of those guys are at Lord of the Rings. So I'm just like, man, nerds unite. Pretty awesome to see them there. And yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then I've got a couple little Lego builds, and I posted on there about my wife and I making the Legos, and then I've got some
Yeah.
shirts. And so yeah, lots of little Star Wars things, like the little
Nice.
Acolyte show and
Yeah.
Hunters, things like that. So it's been a pretty fun Star Wars week.
Yeah, as
I think we're recording this on a Monday, 'cause so
yeah.
it's yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Awesome. So as you mentioned, okay, you like to butcher people's names. It's that time
Oh,
again of the show where we
yay.
love to welcome all the new explorers. So join us today, Jimmy. Who have we got?
I apologize in advance, people. Hope Michelle, Liam Norman. This one's gonna get me. Una Erisanuro, Half Elk Monk, Poetry Slam Sam, which is a fun one. This next one's great. The High Republican,
Yeah, I like that one.
Sejawitz, Glory's Crystals, Mike Winks, Ryan Cummings, and Shaylin Scherzer. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us again. Feel free to post and like, share, subscribe, everything on our socials. Explore the Force, all one word. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, X, and also Threads. Okay, so let's head over to this week's news then from Batuu.
All right, so lots and lots and lots of Acolyte news. People are
Yeah.
overlooking the most important thing about the Acolyte. That's the noodles. The noodles. If you go to starwars.com right now, you can find a recipe. Take a break from hunting Jedi with a bowl of the Acolyte inspired noodles. And it has the recipe on here, Lomi Usikwi noodles. And it has the ingredients. I think Molly and I are going to try this out this week sometime. But,
Nice.
there's lots of positivity, lots of negativity, but everyone's missing the big
The noodles.
here. The noodles. It's always
Yeah.
about the noodles. It's about the pasta. So go to starwars.com, check out that recipe, and let us know what you think. I'm sure hopefully next week they'll be part of my Force encounters as we'll have tried those news. But I just thought that was fun given the back and forth with the Acolyte
Yeah.
right now. But I love that. So, and then of course we've got a new game out. Jack, you want to talk about that a little?
Yes, Star Wars Hunters Arena, basically a MOBA game. However, it is out on the Nintendo Switch. You basically take control of I'm going to say a wacky character because one of the characters is two Joras together with one on its shoulders.
Mhm.
One's a Jedi robot. I know there's a lot of people not too keen on a robot Jedi, but I think it's designed to be a bit wacky. If I'm honest, there's Wookiees on there. There's Trandoshans on there. There's a load of different
Ugnaughts.
characters. Ugnaughts are on there, and a Destroyer droid.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool as well. So yeah, I've been playing that. I've posted some clips of gameplay over on our YouTube channel, Explore the Force, as well. So check it out. It's not something to be overlooked. I think if you're just looking to kill a bit of time, it is pretty decent. You can party up with friends as well. They just need some sort of chat functionality on there. But yeah, really, really enjoying it. Nice little MOBA game. The battles last no longer than 10 minutes. Check it out, Star Wars Hunters Arena.
Yeah. I've been playing it. I'm not a big combat, like those games have never really been my thing,
Yeah,
like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But it's been fun kind of playing it as a Star Wars character.
yeah,
Um, so I've enjoyed that. I haven't unlocked too many people yet, but um, I'm sure I'll dive into that a little bit more this summer. I'll have a little free time on my
definitely
hands. You
worth
have
it.
a little free time on your hands too. You should be like beating the game by the time you're all healed.
I think I've got 2 characters left to unlock.
Oh my goodness. Um, so Hasbro's announced the vintage collection Mos Eisley Cantina as the next HasLab
Yes.
project. So their last one was a smashing success, and it was the Ghost from
Yeah,
uh, Rebels. And I'm still knowing that I didn't have space for it. It's okay, but man, I would have loved to have that for the collection. But this thing looks all right. It hasn't been
I like
not
it.
detailed yet because it's just being announced, but.
Mm,
Um, so the price tag sits at $399.99.
it's probably
And
about
then it comes with
£350 for us.
3 vintage collections, and then the more it looks like, just like anything else, the higher it
Yeah.
goes up. You got a Greedo, you got a Nebrun, you got, I don't know who some of these characters are. I'll have to look them up. But if it's anything like the Ghost, it'll probably blow up and people will get those.
Yeah. I'm like you. I'm kind of gutted as well. I didn't get the Ghost, but it's so big. But I really do like the Mos Eisley Cantina. And actually, for my birthday, I'd got a board game, Escape from the Death Star, which came with a Grand Moff Tarkin vintage. So, I've got that excuse to go to the wife. Look, you got me this, and this is where you've started me on. So, we'll see about that. Any other news we got coming out, Jimmy?
Yeah. So the new Star Wars Outlaws teaser trailer reveals someone pretty cool.
Yes.
I know you hit me up with that, and the first time I watched it, I was like, "What is Jack? What is Jack talking about?" I had to go back and watch it a second time. Not even he's just there for like a second and gone. But Lando Calrissian is going to be, which makes sense. You're in that time period where he would be up there. It's and so this is between Empire and Return of the Jedi,
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Han's in Carbonite. So this is slowly. I'm still bummed that this is not coming out until the end of summer when I have all this free time.
I know.
But what do you think of that new trailer?
Yeah, I can't wait. Lots of little snippets to pick out. Again, we see Jabba. We know he's going to be in the game, but seeing Lando there again at the sabacc table, so we know they're going to be playing some sabacc. I'll probably spend a lot of the time playing sabacc on that game, if I'm honest. But yeah, if Lando's there, obviously, are we going to see a bit of Cloud City maybe at Bespin? Who knows? Are we going to see how he got his role at Bespin through the game as well? That could be quite interesting, if they close up that story arc. But no, just as excited as I was when it was announced with the first trailer. Looking forward to more action.
Yeah, very cool. More Acolyte news, kind of. Acolyte showrunner Leslie Headland interested in exploring Kreia, I think is how you say the character's name, in live action Knights of the Old Republic era story.
Oh, Kreia, yeah. So for those that don't know, again, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I'm a big game nerd. She was basically one of the Sith Lords from the second one. I think they called it the Trivium or something like that. Essentially, there's three of them. You've got her Scion, which it looks like he's been charcoaled to death. He's only got one working eye. And oh god, what was the other guy's name? I want to say Malik. I think it's Malik. Again, so they all worked in a free, but essentially she has three purple lightsabers. She doesn't hold them; they just turn on, they levitate, and she just throws them at you. And she force lightning as well. She's pretty powerful, but that's what I'll say on that, really, rather than give loads more away. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting character, to say that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, people are craving this, and we've heard her talk lots of times about her EU and influences and things like that. Which is one of the reasons I thought people would go a little bit easier on her on this show, but you can see that's not been the case so far. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I have tried to get into KOTOR. It's a little public stuff. Just they need to revamp it for me so that it looks a little bit smoother. I'm kind of past the stage. And the last bit of news is pretty exciting. Andor season 2 writer credits revealed.
Yes.
And so, I mean, we're getting closer and closer. I think was it because we have Skeleton Crew that's next.
Yeah, then Andor next year because it got delayed, didn't it?
That. So the first, second, and third episodes will be written by Tony Gilroy, who is the creator. The fourth, fifth, and sixth episodes will be written by Beau Willimon, who also he's the one who wrote the Narkina 5 prison arc.
Yes.
So we're going to get another.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And he's also co-writing the Dawn of the Jedi era movie with James Mangold. So this guy is going to quickly becoming if he nails this, fan favorite for sure. Dan Gilroy is going to be writing 7, 8, and 9. He wrote the Aldhani arc, which was really, really good. I mean, I don't know if there was any arcs that were bad in Andor, but he co-wrote the Bourne Legacy and Kong Skull Island, and then they're going to finish up. The 10th, 11th, and 12th episodes will be written by Tom Bissell, who's a writer of the Gears of War series and author of the Disaster Artist. So not as well known to me. To finish things up, it's got to be a lot of pressure, but Yeah, I love this. Apparently, all three, like every time they go through a clip, so the first three episodes will be a time period, and then it's going to leap a year or
Yeah,
so, and so there's going to be these big, massive jumps. And these guys get to write these arcs. 12 more episodes. Love it. I'm super
I can't
pumped
wait.
for it. Yeah, it's going
Can't
to
wait.
be great.
Big fan of the Andor, and I actually watched Rogue One Saturday night. So I was on my own. Yeah, but I sat and watched Rogue One, and I started to pick up some references from Andor, the TV show, to actual Andor as well. But yeah, super looking forward to it.
Yeah, but I think that as of right now is all. Oh, and there's a when you guys listen to this, the newest High Republic book will be out too. Temptation of the
Yes.
Force. Super excited for that. I crammed in the Living Force so I could be ready to dive into that when I get it sent to me tomorrow. So be looking for that. If you haven't already ordered it, get on Amazon, go to your local bookstore. If you're going to do like Jack does a lot, I actually do both. I do audio and I do the hard copies typically.
Yeah.
Just during the school year at least. So yeah, super exciting. Lots and lots of news coming out. And then and I think that's it for this week.
Awesome. That's the news then wrapped up. Let's get into the main show.
Okay, Explorers, joining me this week is a special guest, is a person who I would personally label as Star Wars' busiest fan, and if not one of Star Wars' biggest fans that I know. He tirelessly works hard to give us interesting material and content, as well as travels all the way around the world following Star Wars. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mark Newbold.
That is the best intro I've had for ages. Thank you very much.
Not a problem, Mark. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Super appreciate your time, buddy.
Oh, pleasure. I've been wanting to do this for ages. I know we've been playing like tennis trying to sort it out, so we finally got there. So it's all awesome.
Yeah, at last. Obviously, for those that don't know you, Mark, if you'd like to introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and also if you'd like to promote your Fanthatracks podcast and your site, the floor is yours.
Wow. Okay. So I'm Mark Newbold. I've been a fan since it pretty much started here in the UK in '78. So I was 6 when the first film came out. Got into the comics and got to the toys when Palasaur started bringing out the toys and followed it all the way through. And one of the weird ones that didn't stop, because a lot of people stopped and then came back, but I just kept plowing through. And other things came along like Star Trek and comics and girls and blah, blah, blah. But Star Wars has been the through line. Did fan fiction back in the day, back in the early 80s, and done all of that, and then did websites from the mid 90s, and still doing that. So so I run with my co-owners Matt and Brian, Fanthatracks. We've got a really great team of people involved in that. Daily news, so loads of news on the site, all the socials that go with it. Podcast network, as you just mentioned, so we've got 7 shows on the network, all sorts of stuff. Collecting show and a vehicles show and Making Tracks, which is the sort of weekly news and interview show, and all sorts of stuff. Fantha Down Under, which is an Australian show, and Cannon Fodder, which is a literature show. Planet Leia, which is our Claire and Johanna do that show, and I know there's another show I'm missing. Desert Planet Disc, which is our music show with Level Up Leroy and Carl. Yeah. So really good bunch of people involved in Fantha. And then on top of that, for me, I write for Star Wars Insider and Starburst magazine, and occasionally on starwars.com. What else do I do? Oh, all sorts of stuff. I'm too busy.
Yeah, I don't think there's a stone unturned there. So again, just reaching out to everybody that's never heard of Fanthatracks. All the descriptions, the links, everything will be in the comments. They'll be all over our socials this week as well. So please make sure you hit them up. They've literally got everything covered. There's nothing they haven't covered, literally. Again, we are a massive fan of Fanthatracks. If it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't be doing this podcast now. He's helped me tremendously to get started, giving me helpful tips and advice. Again, I can't speak highly enough of Mark and his team, especially Brian. He is full of morale. And again, the Fantha team are always up and down the country and also at celebrations and other events worldwide. So if you do see them, please approach them. They're more than approachable, friendly. They'll spend the time to chat to you. And yeah, just spreading the love. Again, just thanks so much for coming on, Mark.
Pleasure. Oh, thank you again for all that. It's very kind. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you say, and we said it offline, we'll say it online. It's all about sharing Star Wars, enjoying Star Wars. Help your mates where you can, and it all comes around. It's all good. It's all part of the fun.
Yeah, massively. Before we get started, Mark, just more questions just to get to know you a bit more. What's your favourite Star Wars film, then?
Whoa, Empire Strikes Back. Boring, I know, but that's the
classic. Out the TV shows, including the Clone Wars stuff and animated stuff, what's your favourite Star Wars TV show?
That probably flip-flops, but right now, loving Acolyte, obviously. It's just got started.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Bad Batch. I really, really enjoyed Bad Batch,
Yeah.
and I'm missing it already. That's been a
Yeah.
joy. So I'm going to say Bad Batch.
Yeah, big fan of Bad Batch myself as well, Woody. What's your favourite, or who's your favourite character, should I say?
Well, it's been the same for, well, I say it's been the same for a long time. Lando was the first one I really clicked with. I thought Lando was just such a cool character. Han Solo's just cool as it's Harrison Ford. And then more recently, Qui-Gon. I think Qui-Gon Jinn's a fantastic character. It's such a shame that we never saw more of him. Hopefully, with the Kenobi stuff, maybe there's a bit of scope there. And Tales of the Jedi with younger Qui-Gon as well. But yeah, I'll probably, if I could pick one, I'd say Lando.
Yeah, nice. I've never met anyone actually whose favourite character is Lando. We had someone on last week that said Qui-Gon Jinn, and Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favourite characters as well. Big fan. Sort of mentioned it there. Next one we're going to talk about is obviously the Acolyte. Now, I know Mott was one of those lucky ones and privileged ones that went and seen 4 episodes, but obviously nothing's going to get said about any of that. But you can obviously talk about the 2 episodes. Mentioned you're loving it already. What's been the highlight for you of the Acolyte stuff that you've seen out of episodes 1 and 2 so far, Mark?
Lots of people online are saying, what's your favourite character? What's your favourite this, that, and the other? And the thing I actually like about the Acolyte is, and I've seen the first 2 episodes, a few times now, and they're very rewatchable, is I couldn't pick a favourite character. I like all of the characters. There's not one that I'm not enjoying. So at the moment, it's early days, isn't it? But at the moment, I couldn't honestly pick one that steps up above the others. But I mean, you mentioned Qui-Gon and Sol, Master Sol has kind of got, you kind of think there's a parity there as characters between the 2. He's definitely intriguing. And obviously May and Osha, the whole thing that's kicking off there. Yord, everyone's talking about Yord at the moment, which makes me smile. Yeah. Because, there we go. So I'll write for Starburst. So I was very lucky. Back in February, I was in Norway doing the Visit Hoth thing at Pincer. And then the whole chance to interview some of the team from the Acolyte came up. But I had to be at home. And it just worked out that to interview Lee Jung-jae, I would have still been at the airport, so I couldn't do it. But I did get on the round table with some of the other actors. And Charlie Barnett was such a bottle of pop, so excited and so enthusiastic. And he knows Star Wars well. I know there's that little faux pas when he said Anakin blew up the Death Star instead of Luke, but that's just, it's in the moment. We all say things.
Exactly.
Nothing. But
that's
he
what
was
excitement
really,
does for you.
Totally, exactly that. He's thrilled. You could tell he was like thrilled to be there. So I kind of took to him as just a nice personality. I'm looking forward to seeing him at conventions. So, I couldn't pick one. That's not the longest non-answer you'll ever get on this show, Jack.
No, I like it because it's sort of the same as me. Is the variety of different Jedi. That's what drew me to the whole series as well. And just keeping with that topic there, where he was speaking about Anakin blowing up the Death Star. Technically, he's right because he took the Emperor down into the chute. Vader did. So
that's very true. Who knows? Yeah.
So in his head and also in mind, you can think about it's not wrong. He's not wrong.
We need to let Charlie know this and go, actually, dude, you were right. Don't backpedal. They never said
Absolutely
what Death Star you were talking about. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly. So
good save.
I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled about it. Again, you've mentioned that you spoke to a different number of people there from the Acolyte cast and stuff like that, Mark. You've been around a while, obviously, in terms of Star Wars stuff. Who's been the most interesting Star Wars person that you've met and spoken to?
Oh, blimey. I got very lucky. Before I did Fantha, I was running Jedi News, the sort of the news side of Jedi News for about 6 or 7 years. And before that, for 10 years, I did a site called Lightsaber. And Lightsaber started off as a fan fiction site and became a news site, but with interviews sort of running through. So I got quite, 20 years ago nearly now, but I got quite a good reputation with Lucasfilm for doing decent interviews, print interviews. And so I got access to some great people, Anthony Daniels quite early on. And I spoke to Rick McCullum not long after Sith came out. Cracking interview. He swears like a trooper. It was hilarious, but a really good interview. And I got to the end of it. And we were just chatting like we're chatting, and he says, "Oh, what you up to? How's the site going?" And it's a very casual conversation. That's how I'm trying to get in touch with Irvin Kershner. Empire's my favourite film, and I'd love to interview Irvin Kershner. And I kind of got a lead, so I was sort of 2/3 of the way there myself anyway. And he said, "Oh, we can sort that out." And within a week, I was on the phone to Irvin Kershner. So that was, I mean, as a fan, that was just mind blowing to interview the director of your favourite film. So I guess, and I haven't, like I said, I've spoken to some fascinating people. Dennis Muren was fascinating. He talked all about his childhood and just really interesting stuff. All sorts of just wonderful people, right through to the sequel trilogy and beyond. But I think, I think Kershner's always going to be the one that really grabs me, because I was trying to be respectful and steer the conversation to like these other films, and he knew I just wanted to talk about Empire, so we kept dragging it back. And after 10 minutes, I'm like, he's cool. I can just ask him all about Empire. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about actor-wise?
Oh, that's a good one. Actor. I've spoke to a few actors. I've not got to any of the real like top guys yet. I've met a few, but not interviewed them. I mentioned Anthony Daniels, and I've always got on very well with Anthony. I know some people have passed comment that he's not always amenable to interviews. I think it's when he gets very down and pat and obvious, like what's it like in the suit type questions. I think he kind of just taps out a little bit. I made very sure not to ask him those kind of questions. So I've had at least three really, really good interviews with him. Nice. And I shouldn't sound so surprised because he's a veteran. Good grief, he's been in everything. So I'm making it sound like it's a surprise. It's not. He knows the game. But that's always been very cool because, hey, it's C-3PO. So he's been a particularly good one. And recently I spoke to Neil Scanlon, which was great as well, for Insider. Nice. It came out probably 18 months ago now, talking about, the process of what he did on the sequel trilogy. And again, just like fascinating little insights into how they do things. So I know he's not an actor, but
it was stuff like that.
Yeah. Just when you get into the little nooks and crannies of things, and it's interesting to see how they pull these things off.
Yeah, we've had a few people on. Alan Austin was one, and Dawn Dillinger does quite a lot of stuff as well. Again, they drop little golden things, little funny stories and stuff like that. When we had Brendan Wayne on, we were talking that we knew that every time he used to get out of his N1 Starfighter, he never could get out properly. He'd always have to fall out.
Yeah,
and it's like, who's told you this? Who's told you this? He knew after a while.
You must have put that in his head, Jack. You must have put that in his head because when he was talking to MCM, we filmed it's on Fantha. We were lucky to get there for that, and he did actually mention getting out of the N1, and it did make me. I did listen to that interview, and I thought, wow, that's fresh in his mind.
Yeah, that was brilliant. And Alan Austin was telling us how he met Harrison Ford as well, little stories like that. Again, he was obviously, you'll know that he was on the Stormtroopers from Empire Strikes Back. But yeah, obviously you've done all the Fanthatracks stuff. So the next obvious question is going to be, what's the best thing about having Fanthatracks or doing the stuff with Fanthatracks?
Oh wow! I mean, it's always for me anyway. I love doing such this hard work. You got to keep going at it. You got to keep chasing news down. You're always prepping something, reviewing something, chasing something up. So it is like having a second. Literally, it's like having a second job. Thankfully, I love it. I'm happy to get there and just be typing away for like 5 or 6 hours and just going for it. So I enjoy that side of it very much. But it's the social side. We've got a lot of folks on the team. Some do the pods, some do the odd review, some are more involved than others, obviously, like anything. But they're all good people, and I can have a conversation with any of them, which I think is great because there's a lot of us. So I think that's the fun side. And I say I've known Matt for years and years and years. Brian, I've known for about 10, 11 years since he joined Jedi News, and he used to read Lightsaber, my old site, back when he was at university, back in the late 90s, which blows my mind. So we've all kind of known of each other for years, and we can, can give each other a bit of, whatever, as you do, to get things done. But yeah, we get on great. We travel, like as you mentioned earlier, we've all traveled around together, and we have a laugh. That's the main thing, especially at my age. You just want to have a laugh with it.
Yeah, you've got to have a laugh. And you sort of touched on it as well. It's not easy, is it, having your own podcast and that? But with the amount of Star Wars content that you're pushing out, like I don't struggle to an extent. It is hard. Obviously, me being in the army, I'm doing American football at weekends, and then trying to space my time out with my family. Then I'm doing the podcast on top, you know, and it's only me and Jimmy. And Jimmy's like 6 hours behind me. Just the other day with the Acolyte coming out, I woke up at 2 a.m. this week to do an instant reaction. And then I was up at 6 a.m. again playing American football for the Army trials, you know, and it does take its toll on you. But like you, I just enjoy doing it. And we've built such an awesome community as well. There's so many different people from around the globe that we've got. I never thought we'd get this far. One of the other big things that you do, and I've I've subscribed to it since I spoke to you about it a bit more, is the Star Wars Insider magazine. I'm always messaging you saying, great article, love that one. I think it was the Vivian Blair interview. I think it was one of my favourite ones you did. I think that one stuck with me as well. But yeah, what's it like writing for Star Wars Insider magazine?
Awesome. In a word, awesome. I was going through some stuff today because I've got some more stuff coming up, some very cool stuff coming up, and looking back, and I kept a tally up to a point, and then I hadn't updated my tally, so I spent an hour this afternoon updating it, and I realised I don't know if this is cool or sad, that I've done 196 articles for Insider across 83 different issues. So that in 18 years. So that's a good number, I think. But it's awesome. I mean, when I was a kid, I joined the fan club back in '82, the original, when it was still the Empire kit before Jedi came out. Fanthatracks was obviously the mag, so I started getting Fanthatracks, and quickly back then ordered with old sort of postal orders that you used to get from the post office. Ordered the back issues. So Fanthatracks was like absolute, you know, it's the Bible to me as a kid. You know, that was the inside track on what was happening with Star Wars. I think that's more than anything inspired doing news sites, because I got into I was doing fan fiction from '82 onwards, but which was creative. But the news side, the inside track side, was always interesting, and that's what's come through more now with Fantha than anything. But yeah, it's just the lineage of it. It was Fanthatracks, and it was the official Lucasfilm magazine. Then it was Star Wars Insider, which it still is today, and it's gone through different publishers and such. So, and I was fortunate. I came on in 2006. I say came on. I did one article in 2006. And then I did another one in 2010, and then pretty quickly after that got the chance to contribute more and grabbed it with both hands, and I haven't really stopped. So yeah, and I think the best thing for me personally is I still get as much of a buzz now seeing my name in the mag, checking the article looks cool, because the designers do a great job, and Chris, the current editor, is a great bloke, and Jonathan Wilkins before him was a good mate. So I've been very fortunate to have got on with these guys. But I still get a kick out of it. So, and now I'm aiming for that 200th contribution now. So it's hopefully by early next year I'll have.
You'll get there. Yeah,
hopefully
you'll smash it, and hopefully carry on as well, mate. Because you do some really, really cool stuff. And again, you're leading into all my questions. You don't even see the questions. It's crazy. So you've spoken about Fanthatracks being like one of your treasured collections. So my next question I was going to ask you is, what's your most treasured Star Wars collectible or item that you've got?
That's a great question, and it kind of ties into that. In fact, it literally ties into that. So there's two things, and I got them at the same time, or got them signed at the same time. So I bought a first edition Art of Star Wars hardback from Nostalgia and Comics in Birmingham, which is now one part of the Forbidden Planet chain. It was with my mum, bless her, who's long gone, but with my mum, and she had the money on her to lend me the 25 quid I needed to buy that hardback book that was up on the wall, because I just didn't have it on the. Make it sound like I was a little kid. I wasn't. I was in my 30s. I just didn't have the cash on me. And Mum's like, yeah, there you go. So she lends me the money. And about 3-4 years later, at the NEC memorabilia, unbeknownst to me, because I was doing websites then, but it wasn't a news site by then. It wasn't that sort. It's a Star Trek site, I think, back then when I was doing those early days. Before Paramount shut all the Star Trek sites down, and Ralph McQuarrie was there, so I was like, right, wow, gotta get something signed. So I grabbed that Art of Star Wars, and I grabbed, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I think it was issue 15 of Fanthatracks with McQuarrie on the cover painting the Hoth landscape, the black and white picture. So I took those two. It was when he got this beautiful little book-sized case with postcards in, his McQuarrie art as postcards in, and some stamps. Oh, nice. Beautiful little presentation. And that was what he was sort of promoting, if you like. And I went with my best mate John. John went off to get something to eat, and I turned around. I saw that there was nobody at the table. Nobody at the table. So I went over and excuse me, is he still signing? Yeah. Oh, blimey, I've come at the right time. I've done this a couple of times. I did this with Leonard Nimoy as well. I caught him, and there was nobody there. I think they all thought it was on his lunch break. Anyway, went up to Macquarie, gave him the book. He went, oh, wow, I've not signed one of these. He was signing all the portfolios. I've not looked at this for years. He's browsing through the book, taking it all in, signs it. Then I put down issue 15 of Fanthatracks, and he went, I've not seen that since that came out. Wow, he was blown away.
Wow.
He'd not seen either of it. So he signed the Fanthatracks one for free. So I've got a free Macquarie signed Fanthatracks issue and the Art of Star Wars, which I've since got signed by Joe Johnson as well, which is very cool. And had a chat for 5 minutes. And I've said this before. I'd love to say we had a really deep, interesting chat about, how he designed whatever for Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I think we just talked about the weather. I think it was just that casual a chat. There was no substance. I was just talking to Ralph.
I find that's
for
the best
5
thing
minutes.
sometimes, though.
Oh,
I find that's the best thing sometimes. They've probably been at a desk hours, probably asked the same question millions of times, so it's probably a bit of a refreshing break just to talk normal. I say normal things outside of Star Wars. I did that. I can't remember the guy's name as well. He was the one of the actors that did the two tubes in Rogue One. And he did all the dinosaur stuff in Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, Aidan Quinn. No, not Aidan Quinn.
Not Aidan Quinn.
Not Aidan Quinn.
God,
Oh God,
his name's forgot me.
I've interviewed him. I can't think of his name.
Yeah,
Aidan. Oh, that's terrible.
It'll come to us. It'll come to us.
It'll come.
He was an absolute gentleman, and I was talking to him about the army. He was talking. He asked me what I'm going to do when I leave the army. I was like, oh, I'm not sure. And he was asking me about transferable skills, etc. I was like, I'd love to get into like the film industry and do some stuff for Star Wars and that. And he said, oh, with what you do with like your weapons and stuff like that, you could probably get over and he was giving me like loads of tips. Definitely. And then in the end, he gave me a website. It's like, that's the company. Have a look at that. And I was like, what? This is crazy. But yeah,
do it, because when they made episode 9, they went over to Jordan. They used the Jordanian army when they did the Finster Hoth scenes from Empire. They used the Norwegian army. So
Aidan Cook. Got his name.
Well done. I interviewed him down at a convention down in Essex. Right at the end of the day, me and Paul Naylor we do Start Your Engines together, and we were chatting, and he's lovely. He was talking about his son, and he talks, like you say, about Jurassic and such. We were stood by the kitchens, and when we got the recording back, it's ever so funny. I just left it in. All you can hear is the kitchen, like plates and knives and forks rattling, and he's talking about his time in, doing Canto Bite or whatever it was. It's
brilliant. Yeah, he's a brilliant guy. I think Mike Quinn is another guy that I spoke to.
Yeah.
I took my wife because she's never been to like a convention thing, and that was in Birmingham actually at NEC. I was speaking to him, and then he asked my wife if she wanted an autograph, but she's not a Star Wars fan at all, but she loves Labyrinth. She mentioned Labyrinth because he was in that obviously, and he crawled under the table, started talking to her, gave her an autograph for free. And then as we come away, she started to tear up. And I was like, now you see what happens to me when I speak to these people and you understand it. And she's like, oh. But there is absolutely incredible people out there that do take a lot of time to talk to the fans and that. Next thing, Mark, as well, obviously you've interviewed loads of fantastic people. You've wrote fantastic articles. You've got loads of news. But in terms of locations, what sort of exotic or lucky locations have you been and seen?
Oh wow! I mean, that's the sort of thing that's sort of building slowly, because it's always been about the work and the mags and the sites and stuff. And recently, Matt from our site has really got into visiting locations, and so it's kind of it's fascinating, and that's his interest at the moment. So, and we've all got our own little quirks. As I mentioned, we did Finster in February. We've done it about 5 years ago. So it was amazing to go back to that. So to visit those locations from Empire. Bearing in mind, half the film was filmed around the hotel, literally within like 10 foot of the hotel. That was amazing. When we did Anaheim, great friend of mine, James Floyd, was our tour guide and took me, Matt, and his friend Dave to Death Valley. And we did all the Death Valley locations from Star Wars Jedi and some bits from Mando. That was just, I still can't believe I've done that. A pictures come up on Facebook memories. I can't believe I was there. That was mind blowing. and done some locations, some of the Andor locations around London and such. But there's still places that that's it, and the Barbican and places like that. But there's still things like I've never been to Puzzlewood. I've got plans to go to Puzzlewood from Force Awakens. Never been to Derwent Water. There's places like that are quite obvious. But at the moment, definitely, it's the two that I've done, obviously, are Hoth and Death Valley. The next two on the list is to get to Tunisia and do Tatooine and do that.
Yeah,
and the Redwoods, the California Redwoods. Yeah. I've seen as well. I'm sure you've been to Rancho Obi-Wan, haven't you, as well? And have you been to Lucasfilm HQ? Yeah, I'm very lucky because Sansweet, when he runs the gala, he hasn't done it for a few years. So he did the first gala, I think it was 2011 or 12. So 2012, he did the first one. I went to the next one in 2013 and did the next 5. I actually named the 2015 gala. It was the Galloween. That was my idea, so I claim credit for that. But when you're at Petaluma, it's only about an hour up the 101 from San Francisco, and Marin, which is where Lucasfilm is just over the bridge. So you're only really 45 minutes away from Lucas Valley Road, which is where Skywalker Ranch is. So I've been to Skywalker Ranch. It was about 10, 11 years ago. I would love to go again, of course. Rancho is phenomenal. Any Star Wars fan needs to go to Rancho. It's just you got to do it, mate. It's amazing. And then the Presidio, down by the water is fantastic. And because you're in the area, and I guess I'm lucky because I write for StarWars.com and Insider and stuff. I know some of the folks there, so I've had the good fortune to visit that place a few times and have the tour and go to the staff shop, which is very, very nice. I was saying to somebody the other day, just casually talking to another Lucasfilm person, actually, I'm not Lucasfilm, but I've written for Lucasfilm. Saying, who's the most famous person you've ever stood next to in a queue? And I remembered that I went there with Mary Franklin, who took us around for the little tour, which is, again, great. And I looked at the other queue, there's different food queues in the Commons, which is the eating area, which looks out over the bay. Yeah. And there was Dennis Muir and Phil Tippett, John Knoll, and Lorne Peterson stood 1, 2, 3, 4 with trays in their hands to get their dinner. And I just looked and was like, my goodness. I mean, I've interviewed all of them at different times. I've never interviewed John Knoll. He's on the list. John Knoll, I've met him, but not interviewed him. But the other guys I've interviewed, but just seeing them together was like, that is literally, we used to see Light and Magic, that's just beyond royalty. It was ridiculous. I can't believe I even saw that. But so very lucky, very, very lucky. And the food there is amazing, or it was. I've not been for years, but really nice.
I'd love to go. I'd absolutely love to go, especially as well Rancho. I think I'd rather go to Rancho than Disney World, if I'm honest.
Rancho's something else. Collection. Yeah, and if you're fortunate enough for Steve to be, he doesn't do the whole tour now, but he does parts of the tour, and just to let him talk about it. And it's one of those places, no two tours are the same, and they do tours all the time. You've got to be a Rancho member to be able to get to do the tour, but 50 quid a year, the kit that you get is amazing. It's worth that just for the kit. And to be, go on the website, see all the stuff on the website, but point to anything. You could honestly just point to anything in there and he'll tell you where he got it, when he got it, how much it cost him. He'll tell you a story about it. It's ridiculous. The knowledge that guy's got is just off the chart. Yeah. And it's Steve Sansweet. I mean, good grief. Mr. Celebration. Yeah. It's amazing.
And again, that leads me into the next question, celebrations. Obviously, you've been to numerous celebrations, Mark. And I know you was at the last one as well. Which one's been your favourite and why, mate?
Oh, wow. The 2007 was my first one. I was still doing lightsaber then, and that was very special. We had a table there. We had Gerald Home on our table signing for us or with us, raising money for charity. That was amazing. We were the only fan site in the dealers area that were allowed to get money in for charity. We managed to wrangle that somehow. They've all. I mean, I've got to say, 2017 didn't blow me away. I really enjoyed Chicago. I thought it was a really good one. I loved Anaheim 2015. I don't know. I mean, Essen was fantastic. There's not really been a bad one. I couldn't pick a favorite. I mean, the last one was great. We were so busy. I mean, I've been four times I've sort of managed the podcast stage, been like the podcast stage host, and that's fun. got Japan coming up. I don't know if I'm doing it in Japan. I think they're going with a local host in Japan, from what I understand, but which makes sense because I don't speak Japanese, so I wouldn't be much use. But
much struggle.
Oh yeah, just a shade. Just about master English. But it's fun. It's like meet folks like yourself, bumping into people that I know. There's folks online that might recognize me. I don't recognize them until they go, "Oh, I'm so and so from whatnot." Yeah. Oh wow, I love all of that because I'm lousy with names. That's why everyone's mate or pal. I'm just rubbish with names. Yeah. But I'm not so bad with faces. So I love Celebration. Can't always looking forward to the next one. Before the next one's finished, I'm looking forward to the one after that.
Yeah, I can't wait. My first one was London, and that's where I met Jimmy, the other host, to explore the Force. And it just went from there. I was listening to another podcast at the time, so that's how we sort of met at Celebration. But then we started speaking, and we just obviously decided to do it after you give me loads of hints and tips as well. So so you are going to Japan then, Mark? Yeah, 100% going to Japan.
That's the plan. That's the plan, or that's certainly the hope or the intention. Barring incident, I'll be there, and it'll be as a fan this time, which will be nice because I'm not, like I say, I've not done one. I think 2017 was the last time I sort of went purely as a punter, if you like. So that'll be nice. Never been to Japan, so I think we're going to try and stretch it out to a few days. And see some. That's probably never get over there again, to be perfectly honest. So looking forward to that.
That's how I looked at it, because I've always wanted to go to Japan, and I sort of knew that they were going to go to Japan in London. I sort of not got inside information, but I could see there was a lot of Asian people being spoken to. I sort of put two and two together. People were talking, rumors were going out. I thought it's got to be Japan. So I managed to get some flights from the 16th, I think it is, a fly out, and I come back on the 22nd. So I've got some days either side of Celebration.
Nice. It's a 3-day show this year, so it's you got a chance then. I
think it's going to be super busy. I can't wait for more Celebration Japan personally. Absolutely loved it. And then you've spoken about we've spoken loads about podcasting and stuff like that, Mark. Again, just sharing the love. Anyone out there that wants to start their own podcast or looking to start their own fan site or anything like that, what sort of tips and that would you give them, Mark?
Practical tips, I'm not so good at. Physical, technical tips, that's not my arena. I always defer to people like Brian, who know stuff like that way better than me. But in terms of just wanting to do it, I think your attitude is perfect because you've wanted to get more involved and do stuff, and you've took the bull by the horns. You know, you met your co-host at Celebration. You both went, screw it, let's do it. Life's too short, let's do it. And that's the attitude. And you will start. Most people, if they want to start it, they'll start quite. I mean, the tech's more there now. If you're even remotely savvy, you can start off fairly easily with good sound and good. You know, you can make it work fairly quickly. But you can't fake a rapport. So you need a co-host you can bounce off, or co-hosts you can bounce off. I'm very lucky. I've got Mark, who I do making tracks with, and Paul, I do start your engines with. Both great guys, friends. It's easy to bounce off. So you've got to get lucky to do that. You got to, that's got to happen. But honestly, and it's boring. It's boring. You just got to stick at it. It's the same with the website. You know, you got to decide what you want to do. I mean, we're a little bit of a catch-all site. You know, we do the news, we do the reviews. You know, we do a lot of stuff. But you just got to stick with it, because there's. I mean, again, there's so many people doing it. But I suppose if I want to blow my horn over anything, it's the fact that, you know, I was doing this sort of Star Wars news in 2005, nearly 20 years ago, when Sith came out. Actually, it was the summer of 2005. So that's when the news side of it started, doing the bits before, and I've kept going all the way through. And you've just got to keep going. And over time, you know, the right people at Disney in the UK will get, if you're in the UK, will get to know who you are, and you start getting invites to things, and then you start to know the crowd. Because you guys are starting to get to know all the crowd and stuff, and you know, it builds like that. But the most important tip I can give anybody is enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, it becomes a chore. You start resenting it.
Exactly.
You start all that sort of bitterness that we're seeing around the acolyte of people who are just bashing it. That becomes the prevalent thought process. That's not a place you want to be with Star Wars. You want to turn Star Wars on and go, right, I'm going to enjoy this, you know. And you're always going to enjoy yeah, you're always going to enjoy some things more than others because no two things are exactly the same. But go into it as if you want to enjoy it and just enjoy it. I'm repeating myself. That's the best thing I can say.
Yeah, we've been through the ringer, and we're only just over a year old. I mean, like I said, I'm in the army. Sometimes I go out of country. There was one episode, I can't remember the number. I was in Belize, and the hurricane alarms came on whilst we were recording the episode. Luckily, it was towards the end, so we managed to get the main stuff done. But I didn't manage to do my own goodbye. See you next week. So the alarms came on, and I was like, right, I've got to go. And then, Jimmy at the time was like, Jack's had to leave because of this, and this. Carried on, and then finished.
And I thought it was bad when Amazon drops a parcel off and the Ring doorbell goes off, and I think, oh no, I've messed the episode up. And you've got, hurricanes.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild. I'll never forget it. And like I say, I've been up at stupid o'clock recording reactions. I think it was Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka. Yeah. Again, every single episode I watched as soon as it was released, rather than waiting till the morning. Just trying to, the early bird gets the worm and all that. And we are super thankful with all the help, but the support and everyone that listens. And Mark will totally agree with me. Like every person, even listening for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it helps no end, and it does keep you going, doesn't it? It makes you think that it is worthwhile. And I've always said I would always be happy with one listener that listens week in, week out. Sometimes comments, don't have to comment all the time, but that what you're getting out there, someone is actually listening and it's going somewhere.
Totally that. Yeah, sometimes you feel like you're shouting into a glass bowl and there's nobody listening. And then sometimes you just have such a good time doing it, you don't care. You get on a roll, especially with me with news posting. I just get on a roll. I'm like, if anyone's doing it, great. If they're not, I'm having a good time. So that's what
Brilliant. Well, it's been a good time, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, that's nearly 35 minutes just talking. I know we could literally go on for longer. I'm not going to keep you because, again, we're both super, super busy. Just before we go, though, Mark, again, the floor is going to be yours. Just let all the listeners and people that are watching this on YouTube, whereabouts can they find you, mate?
They can find, if they want to find me and hurl insults, which I'm happy to take, prefect_timing on Twitter, Threads, and on Instagram. That's me. And then Fanthatracks everywhere at Fanthatracks. And as I say, we're pretty busy on the socials. There's lots of comments going on. We'd love, especially with all the Acolyte stuff at the moment, we'd love loads of positivity and loads of genuinely up comments and stuff. But by the same token, if people are watching the Acolyte and they legitimately don't like it, and they've got a reason why they don't like it, and they can back it up, that's equally as valid. We always say this: enjoy it if you can. But if you're not digging it, don't just bash it. Tell us why you don't like it.
Yeah,
conversation. We can get to a conversation about it. But come and find us and have a listen as well on the pods if you want to. We've got a YouTube channel's getting nice and busy as well, so we've got lots of videos coming out as well. So thanks for this, Jack. I've really enjoyed it. I've wanted us to talk properly for ages.
Yeah, we'll get you back on again at some point. Maybe when the Acolyte's finished or halfway through the Acolyte, we'll get you on and we'll talk some more Acolytes.
You know where I am.
100%. Listeners, everyone that's listening, please check out fanthatracks.com. Like Mark said, he does put a lot of work into it, but honestly, it's updated daily. It's not like a website where it's updated weekly or monthly. This guy puts no end of content and his team daily on the site, and it's not one or two articles either. It's literally 5 or 6, and it literally covers everything from Star Wars clothing to music to you name it. It is definitely covered by Mark and the team. Again, thank you so much, Mark, for joining us. Again, listeners, please don't forget to get on our socials, explore the Force over at Facebook. You've got Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, and YouTube. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Get over to Fanthatracks' YouTube as well. Like, share, and subscribe. So, as always, little Star Wars quotes before we leave. I'll start us off, Mark, so I'll give you a few minutes just to get one in the head if you're not already. So, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
I'm going to give you one from my favourite Han Solo book, Han Solo at Star's End. And the quote is very simple. It's clear skies.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, mate.